So just to be transparent up front, I would not call myself a religious man. I've played League before, I'm British, this is one of my old videos, and I even say so long as it's not within the first minute of a YouTube video. Truth is, I'm not walking through the gates of hell, I'm being flung at high speeds through them. With that being said though, here's a cool theory from Christian law. Enjoy. So I'm sure we're all familiar with sugar-free Cain, the son of Adam and first child born after Eve did the whole committing the first sin thing. Something Cain would readily adopt by committing the second sin ever. I am obliged to point out here, his statue is really funny. This is the level of facepalm that should be associated with committing the world's first murder. And side note, but can we talk about the sheer audacity Cain had to hit the literal god with this level of sass when asked where Abel is? I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? Oh, you want to talk to me like that? Well, newsflash, you little shit. You're the grandkid of a rip I pulled out a guy, and you've officially become my third least favorite creation, right behind Apple Eater McGee over there, and the fucking snake! So yeah, for that remark and killing his brother, God gives Cain a rand tattoo named after him, and he's like, you now forever walk this lonely road. The only road that you will ever know. But it'll be your home to you as you walk alone. And aside from some other stuff like building a city and building a family, that's kind of it for Cain. It's not officially mentioned in the Bible if he died. There is a story where he accidentally got killed by his grandson because he looked like an animal or something, but to my knowledge, that tale is considered non-canon. So if we were to say that the Bible is real, it is completely factually accurate, along with all the craziness in it, like... I'm sorry, what? Okay, let's just do a quick little head count. We got me, of course. We got my children that I may or may not have. I didn't research this part. And we have got my beautiful wife, Martha. Oh, you fuck. If you accept that, could Cain still be alive today? Well, your first hurdle is the book of Genesis itself. See, it doesn't really say that Cain is, quote, immortal. You kind of have to interpretate the words of God in a very specific way to get that result. Mainly the part about being a restless wanderer. If you roleplay your best Disney lawyer, you can just read between the lines enough to make it so God is basically saying, you're gonna be doing this forever, bud, thereby insinuating immortality. However, like the noble lobster will tell you, immortality is vastly different than being unkillable. And Cain would have learned that right around this part of the Bible. Oh, okay, no, that's fine, guys. That's absolutely fine. Just commit all the sins. Just do the one thing I continuously tell you not to do. You're better than me now? You're just gonna ignore me? Oh, that's fine. And, you know, it would be a shame if I oops! So the flood in the Bible is a big deal. It is literally stated to have wiped out everything on the planet except for Noah, his family, and the animals on the ark. And as you can guess, Cain was not mentioned as being on that boat. Yes, just like Gonzo, he too would have been left behind to battle the torrents alone, something you think would be impossible to survive. But I raise you this. Gonzo survived, so why couldn't Cain? Is it possible that his eternal punishment meant that it truly was eternal? He couldn't drown in the waters, just being tossed around by the currents, until finally arriving in the new world, forced to continue living his life. I guess that theory is somewhat possible, but it is also a double-edged sword, because you'd think someone as important as Cain would be mentioned when he died, so the fact it wasn't indicates that he could still be alive. But you'd also think it'd be mentioned if he was just just menacingly riding in a cartoonishly small boat behind Noah's. At the end of the day, it really just comes down to personal preference. There's some arguments for it, there's some arguments against it. However, I think given that there's still a bit of this video left, you can guess which side of the coin I fall on. And if you accept that, then there's not really anything else that you could argue would kill him. Wars, plagues, natural disasters, he could just go through them all, cause, well, he's already survived the biggest one. It's the nature of an eternal punishment. Every event may as well be your first one, and it wouldn't be much of a punishment if you died at said first event. Anyway, let's talk about my 3 favorite modern day Cain theories. So, you got the beta bitch beggar Cain, loser, you've got the Chad, supreme ruler Cain, epic, and Bigfoot Cain. Now, Beggar Cain, that's the version mainly associated with his tale. It's the story of a man racked with guilt and regret, never being able to truly settle down and always forced to live at the very bottom of the social hierarchy. It meshes perfectly with God's line when he said, "When you walk the land, it will no longer yield your crops." It turns out this doesn't just apply to his literal inability to farm the land and produce any food on it, but to his inability to gain any benefits in life through his own work, including, for example, money itself. And thus, Cain must resort to begging as his only form of sustenance. In an ironic twist, he committed an act of evil out of pure selfishness, and now, for all eternity, must rely on the selflessness of others. Next up, you got Giga Chad, big man in charge, supreme ruler of the earth, Cain. Yeah, this version of Cain, he saw that he could not farm the land, and you know what he said to God? He was like, "Fuck you, God, I can't farm this land, but I can sure as shit pay someone to farm this land, or what are you gonna do about that, bud?" He looked at God's curse and saw opportunity. With his immortality, he could gain an unimaginable amount of wealth to his name, and more importantly, knowledge. Knowledge of science, knowledge of business, and knowledge of people, all of which he could use to exploit the rest of the population. For example, he could see that people wanted to be ensured their belongings would be safe should a disaster affect them in some way, so he created a system in which you pay a subscription to ensure that if some kind of disaster does happen, you will be reimbursed. But then, Cain, through his years of life, would have learned that you can skirt the system and not pay out when it is needed, thereby making money, more money mind you, and it's not like he would care about the lives of others, cause first of all, why would? In the end, committing the first sin from his point of view was not a horrendous action that needed to be atoned for, it was his first true learning experience, as now he knows to achieve great power, it's not about your noble traits, but which sins you must exploit and when. And then we have Bigfoot Cain theory. My favourite. So, Cain, he had travelled forever and eventually got sick of humans, as anyone would, and decided to go into exile into the woods, and then, bing bada boom, he's now Bigfoot. That's the theory. It's beautiful in its simplicity, don't you agree? So yeah, to be honest, that's about it. From the floods to the woods, maybe he lived life in luxury, or perhaps he had to beg for every single morsel of food, or maybe he just died in said flood, who really knows? I just really like this theory, to be honest. I mean, just taking the words from the Bible and, let's be fair here, twisting them around a lot can turn into Cain still being alive, maybe walking among us today. Maybe he's me. You don't know this. You haven't seen, well, you have seen my face. You haven't seen my face in a while. Maybe it's you. Maybe one of you watching this now is Cain. And if so, you should subscribe, Cain, please. We're at 2,000 subs or something or another. That'd be pretty awesome if you added to that number. I'd appreciate it. And I guess, anyone else that happens to be watching this, you can also subscribe as well. This isn't just a Cain thing. You are all welcome to subscribe. And on a separate note, do you like airship disasters? What a transition, because if you do, go and watch my previous video on the first ever airship disaster. I put a lot of work into it, and it just got absolutely massacred by the algorithm. So if you could go and give it some support, I really would appreciate that. Also, as kind of a follow-up to that video, as you've noticed, I've started really using a lot of the more stick figure drawing type things for making these videos. I haven't got the style I want down exactly. I'm still kind of working with it, seeing what works and what doesn't. But I did have significantly more fun making this video, so I think I am going to continue it for a bit. And if you have any suggestions or ways to improve it, or if you don't like it or whatever, please do let me know down in the comments below. And finally, I want to give a massive shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome as normal, and if you want to support me further, you can go to the Patreon link down in the description below. But with all that being said, thank you for watching, have a nice day, bye bye.